In this video, we're going to use reference angles to find trig values. So it says find the exact value of each expression. We need to find cosine of 120 degrees. So let's draw theta of 120. 120 lies in the second quadrant. This is a terminal side. And this is a theta right here. That is a theta. And theta in this case is 120 degrees. Now what is a reference angle? This is a reference angle right here. Terminal to the x-axis. And theta prime, which is the reference angle, is 60 degrees. So our reference angle is 60. Now let's draw a triangle. Let's draw a vertical line to the x-axis. So this is a 90-degree angle. And this is 30. So this becomes 30, 60, 90-degree triangle. Now let's assume that the radius, or r, is 1. And what's opposite of 60 if r is 1? Opposite of 60 is radical 3 over 2. And opposite of 30 is 1 over 2. So what is that point right there then? What is that point? Now be careful. This is a second quadrant. So x has to be negative. So we get x as negative 1 over 2, comma, y is 3 over 2. So we have x equals negative 1 over 2, y is radical 3 over 2, and r is 1. Again, you got to be careful. Depending on which quadrant it is, you have to be careful with the sign of x and y. Since theta equals 120 is in the second quadrant, x has to be negative and y has to be positive. So, what is cosine of 120 degrees? Cosine of 120 degrees is going to be x over r. So in this case, it's going to be negative 1 over 2. Now let me ask you this. What will be sine of 120 then? Sine of 120, you have to use the same diagram. But now it is y over r. So in this case, it will be radical 3 over 2. So doing this way, you could find tangent of 120, secant of 120, cosecant of 120, and cotangent of 120. Now let's find the value of tangent of 7 pi over 6. This is a radian, so let me change it to degree. You know that 7 pi over 6 is the same thing as 210 degrees. 180 divided by 6 is 30. 30 times 7 is 210. So this is the same thing as finding tangent of 210 degrees. So let's draw an angle of 210 degrees. Your terminal side will be in the third quadrant. Let's draw a right triangle. So let's say there's a point right here. If the theta is 210 degrees, what is going to be our reference angle? This is 210. The reference angle is going to be 30. Or pi over 6. Because it's going to be 210 minus 180. 210 minus 180. Which is going to be 30. So our reference angle is 30. That means this angle has to be 60. So this triangle creates 30, 60, 90. Again, let's assume that r is 1. Then opposite of 30 is going to be 1/2. Opposite of 60 is radical 3 over 2. However, this is in third quadrant, so our x has to be negative radical 3 over 2 comma, and the y has to be negative 1 over 2. Because in the third quadrant, both x and y values are negatives. So x equals negative radical 3 over 2. Y is negative 1 over 2. And r is 1. So what is tangent of 210 degree? Or tangent of 7 pi over 6? That's going to be y over x, which is negative 1 over 2 divided by negative radical 3 over 2. This is the same thing as negative 1 over 2 times negative 2 over radical 3. So 2 cancels out and negative times negative is positive. So you get 1 over radical 3. And you don't want to have a radical on the bottom, so multiply top and bottom by radical 3. You will get radical 3 over 3. So therefore, tangent of 7 pi over 6 is the same thing as radical 3 over 3. Now let's find the value of cosecant of 15 pi over 4. 15 pi over 4 is in radians, so let's change it to degree. So this is the same thing as 15 times 45 degree. Because pi over 4 is 45. So now what is 15 times 45? Is 675 degrees. So we need to find cosecant of 675 degrees. Now let's draw 675 degrees. We need to rotate once, that's 360. And then notice 675 minus 360 is going to be 315 degrees. So that means we have to go 315 degrees more, which will be over here. So the terminal side is this right here. And let's draw a vertical line to the x-axis. If theta is 675 degrees, what is the reference angle? The reference angle will be 45. So you get 45, 45, 90-degree triangle in the fourth quadrant. Again, we're going to assume that r is equal to 1. What's the opposite of 45 then? It's going to be radical 2 over 2. And the opposite of 45 is radical 2 over 2. So this point right here will be positive radical 2 over 2 and negative radical 2 over 2. Because point in the fourth quadrant, x value is positive and y value is negative. So we have x equals radical 2 over 2, y equals negative radical 2 over 2, and r is 1. So what is cosecant of 15 pi over 4? Well, that's going to be r over y. So you get 1 over negative radical 2 over 2, which is the same thing as negative 2 over radical 2. So you multiply top and bottom by radical 2 to get rid of radical on the bottom. You will get negative 2 radical 2 over 2. 2 cancels out. You end up getting negative radical 2.